You can't judge an archaeological discovery on its appearance alone. You need context for the find. To understand it, you have to know who made it, when they made it, and why. That isn't always possible, and whenever we can't answer those questions, we're left with a mystery to deal with. That's a headache for archaeologists, but it's a joy for us because it means we can make videos like this. Human burial customs have changed drastically over time and also vary dramatically from location to location. Some are stranger than others. Did you know, for example, that members of the royal families of ancient China were sent to their eternal rest wearing head-to-toe suits made from jade? The suits were briefly popular during the Han Dynasty 2,200 years ago. They're made from beautiful, smooth jade mosaics, polished to a shine. References to the burial suits appear in many of the texts of ancient China, but their existence was thought to be a myth until the first example was found in a tomb in 1968. A second example was found in Dingqian, Hebei in 1983 and is even more impressive than the first. It's the burial suit of Prince Huai, and it's made of over 1,200 pieces of jade joined together with fine threads of golden wire. Each suit would have taken years to make, so it's likely these ancient royals started planning for their deaths long before the end of their lives. It's nearly impossible to put a value on the suits, but it's unlikely anyone ever found a more expensive way to be buried. We're staying in China a little longer to check out a discovery from January 2017. There was a drought in Jiangxi province that month, and the waters of the Hongmen Reservoir fell to their lowest level in living memory. As the water level dropped, a long-forgotten Buddha statue was revealed for the first time in 600 years. Only the head of the statue was visible above the waterline, but its sudden and unexpected appearance led to a full archaeological expedition to the site. After diving into the reservoir, archaeologists were able to confirm that the statue was 12 feet tall and carved directly into the side of a cliff. It comes with a 30-character-long inscription and stands above what might once have been the hall of a temple. Historians in China had no idea that either the sculpture or the temple was there. It's likely that the temple was built on the intersection of two rivers, which were lately deliberately flooded to create the reservoir. The meaning of the inscription beneath the statue hasn't been released to the public, so we can't shed any further light on the matter. Scientists and historians tell us that humans and dinosaurs never existed at the same time. There are a few exhibits at the Valdemar Julsrud Museum in Alhambra, Mexico that might challenge that statement. The museum is full of figurines that depict humans riding dinosaurs in the same way that we'd ride horses today. Allegedly, the figurines were found by a German immigrant to Mexico named Valdemar Julsrud in 1944. He was out riding through fields when he found the first figurine and persuaded the farmer to look for more. The farmer agreed on the basis that Valdemar would pay him 1 peso per discovery. Unsurprisingly, the farmer then discovered a whole 32,000 figurines. Examinations of the collection have revealed that almost all of them are forgeries that were created during the 20th century, probably by the farmer and his friends. There are still questions about some of them, though, especially the first one that Valdemar found while out riding. Just because some of them are fake, it doesn't mean that they all are. Did our ancestors ride dinosaurs? Probably not, but you always have to leave a little room for doubt. The discovery of the Suzdal artifacts in Russia caused a stir among the country's archaeologists in 2021. The items are thought to be Christian artifacts, but some of them ought to be impossible for the time they're supposed to have been created. One of them is a bishop's seal, which, based on its design, belongs to the 12th century. The issue with that assessment is that the seal is made from a mixture of metal and plastic wasn't around back then. A lead pendant was found close to the seal, and upon the pendant was the inscription, Ilya, Bishop of Novgorod. It's fair to assume that both objects belonged to the same man. A bishop of that name served in Novgorod for a single year between 1163 and 1164. Other discoveries that came as part of the same haul include 3 pendants shaped like angels and circular icon seals depicting Oranta, the Mother of God. All of the items have been dated to either the 12th or the 13th century, so it's entirely possible that they all belonged to the bishop. No explanation for the presence of plastic in the seal has been offered by scientists. The Broider Horde was discovered in Lufoyle, Northern Ireland, during the late 19th century. It's been turning heads ever since and is little better understood now than it was when it was newly discovered. In its native Northern Ireland, it's thought of as one of the greatest treasure finds in the country's history and a priceless symbol of ancient Irish culture. Despite that, the 2,100-year-old artifacts are currently in the hands of the British Museum. The most outstanding individual item in the hoard is an incredibly detailed golden boat. Most historians feel that it was probably buried on purpose as an offering to an ancient Irish god of the sea called Manana Maclear. While the boat is the most famous item in the hoard, the most mysterious is an enormous solid gold cauldron made from just a single piece of the precious material. Nothing like it has ever been found in the British Isles before or since. Many historians have noted that the style of the piece is more typically Middle Eastern than European, as are some of the necklaces in the collection. If that's the case, connections between Ireland and the Middle East were stronger 2,100 years ago than we currently believe them to have been. Can a sculpture have magical powers? Common sense tells us no, but the Monolith of Tulalak says otherwise. It currently stands outside the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, Mexico. The monolith is a depiction of Tlaloc, the ancient Aztec god of rain. When the monolith was taken from its original location and moved to Mexico City in the 19th century, the city was struck by a massive rainstorm that lasted for an entire week. The weather was totally out of season, and locals in Mexico City have believed it to be an act of vengeance by Tlaloc ever since. That was in 1963, and there hasn't been another storm like it in Mexico City in the 60 years that have passed. The monolith was first discovered in a field of maize, close to Cuautlanchan, and probably has a gruesome history. The Aztecs believed that Tlaloc generated rain by soaking up the blood of children, so it's likely that infants and children were sacrificed to the monolith in the hope that Tlaloc would provide favorable conditions for a harvest. In June 2010, archaeologists in Armenia reported the discovery of the world's oldest shoe inside a cave. The site of the discovery was a strange one because the only items around the shoe were 3 human skulls, all of which were missing their jawbones. The shoe is made of leather and is roughly 5,500 years old. It should have rotted away thousands of years ago, but the unique conditions deep inside the Armenian cave have helped to preserve it. The fact that it was stuffed with grass might also have helped with the preservation process, although why anyone stuffed it with grass in the first place is anybody's guess. Analysis of the shoe has revealed that it's made from a single piece of cow leather, and its leather laces came from the same cow. It's a shoe for a right foot and is roughly equivalent to a modern woman's size 7, but people were smaller back then and it could just have easily been worn by a man. Older examples of footwear have been found before, including 7,500-year-old sandals inside the Arnold Research Cave in Missouri, USA, but never before has a whole shoe been discovered in such excellent condition. It looks quite fashionable. There have been countless examples of archaeological discoveries that have appeared to be incredible at first, but were later revealed to be hoaxes. Our next discovery is an example of that process happening in reverse. It was written off as a hoax when it was first found, but experts now think it might be authentic. It's a cabinet of poisonous substances hidden inside a case that's been fashioned to look like a book, and it was made somewhere close to the year 1600. Opening the book reveals the tiny drawers of the cabinet, each of which is labeled with the name of a poisonous or supposedly poisonous substance. Examples of the deadly poisons include valerian, castor oil plant, and deadly nightshade. There's also a large green bottle bearing a message written in Latin on its label. The message reads, "It is inevitable that all men die eventually." Back when the artifact was thought to be a hoax, it was presented as a secret assassin's cabinet. Experts now think that it's a collection of trinkets built up by an eccentric or an occultist. We're left wondering whether any of the poisons were ever used. Even more mysterious than the assassin's cabinet are the Boxwood carvings of the Netherlands. It's not uncommon, even today, for people of strong religious faith to devote their lives to creating beautiful and intricate works of art. But the Boxwood carvings are outstanding even by those standards. Just over 130 examples of boxwood carvings are known to exist in the world today, all of which were hand-carved between the years 1500 and 1530 in the Netherlands. The shortness of that span and the fact that they all come from a single location suggests that they may all have been the work of one person, although we sadly don't know who that person was. The only way we'd be able to replicate the quality of the work today would be by using microscopes, and that wasn't an option for this unknown Dutch master craftsperson. The pins that hold the tiny figures together are smaller than an individual seed of grass. They can't even be seen with the naked human eye. So how is somebody working with the naked human eye able to place them? The internet is full of strange fads and crazes. In 2016, there was a brief craze about Thai dolls, but the craze shed light on a history of strange dolls in Thailand, a history that occasionally becomes gruesome. They're known as Luktep dolls, and are believed by some in Thailand to have supernatural powers. Luktep dolls might even sometimes be blessed by Thai monks to bring good luck to a household. Those who believe in the power of the dolls say that a wandering spirit settles within each one and blesses the doll with a soul. It seems like a harmless belief, but it has roots within the ancient art of Thai necromancy. In ancient times, witch doctors would take the fetuses of infants who died in the womb and grill them over a fire overnight. Then in the morning they would chant incantations to summon the spirit of a child protector called Kumantong. The fetus would then be painted with a lacquer called yalak and covered in gold leaf. Kumantong literally means golden little boy. The lacquer-painted fetus would then be kept in the home like a doll. Owning a Kumantong doll is illegal in modern Thailand, but they can still be found on the black market. The Vikings were the ancient world's greatest travelers. We know that they made it as far as Canada because there's an 11th century Viking settlement in Newfoundland. But is it possible that they went even further and made it as far as New York? That's the question raised by the existence of this 1,000-year-old Nordic spear point, which was discovered in the Great Lakes region in 1929. It was found by a man named Augustus Hoffman, who was digging the foundations of a new home after his blew down in the great storms that blasted through the Great Lakes area that year. Hoffman immediately knew that it wasn't a Native American spear point because they're made of stone, whereas this weapon is made of iron and visibly ancient. It was later examined at the Royal Ontario Museum, where experts verified it as Norse in design and belonging to a time between the 7th and 12th centuries. It was once considered impossible for the Vikings to have reached North America, but we now know for sure that it wasn't. What's to say that it wasn't also possible for them to make it further south from Canada? How else could this spearhead have ended up there? We've already looked at one ancient shoe, so where's the harm in looking at another? This shoe isn't quite as old as the one we saw in Armenia, but the story behind it is every bit as interesting. It's a 300-year-old shoe that was found behind a wall at St. John's College and Cambridge University, England, in 2016. The room was once the residence of the master of the college and was built between 1598 and 1602. The shoe was probably added during renovation work carried out during the 17th century. It didn't end up behind the wall by accident. The peculiar British superstitious beliefs of the time held that shoes could be used as amulets and were effective at warding off evil spirits that might cause people to fall ill while they slept. The single size 6 shoe is actually more pleasant than some of the less savory amulets that were used at the time, which includes bottles of hair and urine and the skulls of dead cats. While the writers of the era were often negative and disparaging about belief in ritual magic among the English population, it seems that those beliefs were prevalent enough for a very educated man to use his shoe as a safety measure against demons. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!